Welcome back to Tennis Town, guys. Thank you for joining. Thank you for tuning in once again. Now, today I want to talk about why Federer is no longer the best player on the tour, however, still currently the luckiest. Why Federer is the luckiest? Actually, I wouldn't want to use the word luckiest. I'd rather use the word fortunate, because luck sort of is as though I'm downplaying. It sounds as though I'm downplaying his achievements. But basically, firstly, if you haven't noticed my t-shirt, it's a Stranger Things Adidas t-shirt. It's awesome. It's going to be the official t-shirt of the Tennis Town community. But please don't hit me up for it, because I don't have any in stock. And actually, I'm not trying to sell any merch. I don't do that. I bring you guys just the tennis news and the tennis news only, and none of that merchandising sort of nonsense. So let's get right into it. Federer won his first slam in 2003. Who did he beat in the Wimbledon final? It was an old Philip Boussis. Okay, and basically from there, Federer's career just shot up, and he took a lot of confidence, and he really started dominating. So after beating an old Philip Boussis in the 03 Wimbledon final, basically Federer dominates from 2003 to 2007 during an era with, I mean, let's face it, I'm not going to say a weak era, but an old Agassi, a retiring Sampras, a deteriorating Hewitt. You know, Andy Roddick, who he himself, I wouldn't say was a world-class player. He was good during that era, but he wasn't, world-class. And Marat Safin, who was a very talented player, but we all know he was never 100% focused. And in fact, his first 7 consecutive slam finals, Federer won them actually, and they all came against those aforementioned players, with the inclusion of Marcos Baghdatis, who he himself was never made it to the pinnacle. Now, during this time as well, so Federer is dominating during this era, and I'm just calling it how I see it. There's no bias. I'm just analysing the way I think, and people's opinions may differ. But during this time, he's dominating over these players, and then you also have the young players such as Songer, Monfils, Gasquet, who never made it to the pinnacle of the sport. I think that's clear. Never achieved their full potential. And then you also have, during this time, Nadal, Djokovic, and Murray, who were still young and still developing. So that's why, in my opinion, Federer was able to dominate during this time. From 2006 onwards, basically Nadal is ripping Federer on clay already. That's already evident. From 2008, Federer actually, he finally starts losing to Nadal and Djokovic on hard and grass courts, and it becomes quite clear that he's losing more and more matches against Nadal and Djokovic than he's actually winning. And if you look at his head-to-head record against those two players, he actually comes off worse off in both of those. Both Djokovic and Nadal have beaten him more times than they've lost to him. Basically, Federer gets very lucky to win the 2009 Roland Garros. I think that was a little good fortune there, and you could see the look on Federer's face when he took out that 09 French Open final. He was so happy to finally get one. But, I mean, again, he didn't play the best player in the tournament to get there, to win it. So then Federer wins the 09 Wimbledon against Roddick. Okay, again, Federer always had Roddick's measure on grass. But basically, between 2008 and 2016, here's an interesting statistic. Federer actually loses every single Grand Slam final when he's faced either Nadal or Djokovic. So for me, this is very clear evidence that, Federer was no longer better than Djokovic or Nadal. Those two players clearly had their measure over him. And in fact, during this era, to give you the statistic exactly, Federer loses 7 Grand Slam finals consecutively against those two. The only slams that he actually won from 2008 to 2016 were against Murray, 3 times, and we all know that Murray during this era was, I'd say, mentally ill. His mental toughness on the court was his biggest weakness. And also the Soderling French Open in 09, which I mentioned before, and also the Roddick Wimbledon final. So if he doesn't play Djokovic or Nadal, he's okay, but as soon as he meets those guys, he's out straight away. From 2011 to 2016, Federer wins only 1 Grand Slam. He wins Wimbledon in 2012 over a choking Murray after overcoming Djokovic in the semis. So that was all right. But, from 2011 to 2016, it is so clear now that Federer is definitely not the best player in the world, and that Djokovic and Nadal have definitely surpassed him and are dominating the sport. For me, Federer is basically done at this point. I never thought he was getting back to world number 1. People had surpassed him. That was it for me. Then, at the end of 2016, basically, everyone gets injured. So, Federer wins the 2017 Australian Open final against Nadal, who's basically the only tip-top player that he faced in that entire tournament. So therefore, in that final, Federer was fresher, and in my opinion, that's why he beat Nadal. Had Federer faced some tougher opponents early on, I think that Nadal would have definitely beaten him. I still think that a fit Nadal beats a fit Federer, and I still think that Djokovic at his best beats both of those guys. Then, Federer starts skipping the French Open. He wins the Wimbledon final last year against Cilic. So rather, quite an easy tournament again. And then in 2018, he wins the Australian Open when all the top players are out. So you got a half-fit Djokovic that was beaten by Chung, in the round of 16, and Chung actually subsequently retired to Federer in the semis. So basically, then Federer beats Cilic in 5, and again, in the final, he beats Cilic in 5, and he didn't play so well, but, rather again, he was the fresher of the two. And obviously, during this last Australian Open, there was the absence of Nadal and Murray. So again, fortune really playing a big part to Federer's run. And he's since taken back the world number 1 ranking. The time that it's taken for, those injured players to subsequently lose their points, and then for Federer to regain the world number 1 ranking, he's done that now. And then, if we look at the next generation now, okay, so they're all, this is a generation, basically 2 generations below Federer. They're still not able to challenge properly. So for me, Federer gets to now reign supreme for at least, this year and half of next year before all of the rivals, firstly, recover from injury. And then, the time catches up to when they can pick up enough points to then roll over and overtake Federer again. Personally, I still think that Nadal can catch him in the Grand Slam tally. This is very possible. But as you can see, Federer, at every point of his career, he's always had a little bit of fortune. I mean, there is no way that he was coming back, from that period of time, from 2011, 2016. He was definitely not the best player in the world. Djokovic and Nadal were dominating him every time. And then, suddenly they get injured, and then everything turns around, and Federer's back at world number 1, and, Djokovic may never be the same because of his elbow injury. We don't know how much permanent damage there is, or how much, permanent ability he's lost from hitting that forehand. Nadal having hip and knee troubles, and again, Murray injured with the hip, had surgery, so that's allowed Federer to come back to world number 1, and to be honest, there's no way he would have been back in world number 1 if all of his best rivals were injured. So at every point of his career, he has been able to dominate, but also has had some good fortune that's put him along the way. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Federer. He is definitely, hands down, in my opinion, the greatest tennis player ever. But I'm just saying that, with greatness, with talent, with everything that comes along with it, with the hard work, there also has to be an element of good fortune. And Federer, my word, was he blessed with that good fortune. That's it from me, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Let me know what you guys think. I think it's a very interesting topic. I think many arguments can be made, and I'm sure that I've even missed a few points myself. Would love to hear your thoughts. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Those of you that have already done so, thank you so much. You guys are amazing. I can't wait to see you guys again soon, and thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you soon in another episode of Tennis Town. Cheers.